Hi guys, I'm Katelyn. I am a personal trainer at EarthTrex in Colombia, and today we are going to go over some hip strengthening and stabilizing exercises. The hips are a really important joint in our body. Some of the largest muscles in our entire body surround the hip joint, so they're capable of producing quite a bit of power and force. And this force we use not only in climbing but also in our everyday lives. So we use our hips a lot to go up and down steps, just to walk, to run, to jump. And while you might not do those particular things on the rock climbing wall, when you're on the climbing wall, our hips are some of the muscles that help us step up onto a really high hold. They allow us to generate power or a jump motion for a dynamic move. And they're also really important for helping to keep your trunk or pelvis closer to the wall when you're climbing on steep terrain and on overhanging routes. Our glutes and our hamstrings and our hips are going to be the part of our body that's responsible for generating a lot of that force to keep us closer to the wall. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with just a couple warm-up exercises. I picked 3 basic ones that use a lot of joints in our lower extremity to help get the blood pumping, but you can use whatever exercises you want. Just pick your favorites. As long as you get your heart rate up and you feel like you're getting warmer, then your warm-up has been effective. So to start, I'm gonna start with some high knee hugs. I like to use a little bit of a dynamic stretch in my warm-up just to get the joints open and loose, as well as kind of stretch out any tight tissue that I might have from sitting down all day. All right, so a high knee hug is really simple. It's just like it sounds. You're gonna bring your knee up towards your chest and kind of hug at the end until you feel a little stretch along the back of your thigh and up into your glute area. And then you'll just switch and come down. And you can alternate legs until you feel like you've warmed up. If you're bored and you have the space where you are, you can actually start walking. You can walk up and down a hall, do a couple steps, or you can just stay in place like I am. Whatever is more comfortable for you is great for me. Okay. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple bodyweight squats. Right now for my warm-up, I'm not gonna add any extra weight, but it's completely up to you if you'd like to do so. For my bodyweight squat, I'm gonna make sure that my feet are about shoulder width apart, or maybe just a hair wider than shoulder width. You can turn your toes out a bit to the side if you need to, but try not to turn them all the way out just yet. So for my squat, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to initiate from my hips, and I'm gonna drive my hips backwards, keeping my knees stable over my feet until I drop down to about 90 degrees or whatever depth is comfortable for you, and then I'm just gonna return to standing. So I'll drop all the way down and then come straight back up. It's important when you do your squats that you make sure that your knees don't rock forward over your toes. So when we do our squats, we wanna make sure that our heels stay in contact with the floor and that our knees stay fixed where they are. So you're driving those hips backwards again, bending at the knees, keeping everything in line so that your knees are not going over your toes, and then you're gonna return back up to stand. So those are going to be the big things that you wanna remember with your squat, is that your knees don't go past your toes, they stay fixed over your feet, and that you drive backwards with your hips for your squats. Okay? We're gonna take some of those same mechanic motions, and we're gonna take them into a lunge as part of our warm-up again. So we're gonna do alternating lunges. You could do walking lunges if you have the space, but if you don't have the space, you can just stay in one spot. You're gonna keep those same components in mind that we just learned with our squat in our walking lunge or our alternating lunge. And you're not gonna let your knees wiggle or wobble out to the side. You're gonna keep it fixed over your foot and keep your knee from sliding forward past your big toe. So you're gonna step forward, trying to keep your feet almost directly in line with each other. Then you're gonna drop your back knee down towards the floor so that your front knee does not rock past your toe and it doesn't flare out to the side or in this way. And then you're just gonna push back up and come back together. Then you can alternate feet and repeat the same motion. If you wanted to, you could do all 10 on the right leg and then all 10 on the left leg, or you could alternate. Whatever your heart desires is fine. So again, the lunge from the side, you're gonna keep in mind those same things from our squat. We're gonna step forward, drop the back knee down towards the floor, and then try to create that 90-degree angle from your ankle up towards your knee and then up at your hip. You don't want to be leaning too far forward or too far back. Okay. Then you're just going to come straight back up, and you can switch and do the other leg. So for warm-ups, I would recommend that you do about 10 of each exercise on each leg. You could run through it a couple times or just once. It's whatever you want to do. Keep moving until you feel warm. Once you feel warm, then we're gonna go ahead and move into our strength training set. For our strength training exercises today, I've picked 3 that I think correlate well to the muscles that we use in climbing. We're gonna start with a single leg bridge. Then we'll move into a Bulgarian split squat, and then finally we'll do a single leg deadlift at the end. For our single leg bridge, there are several different ways that you can do this, so feel free to pick the option that works well for you. First, I'm going to start on the ground and show you how to do it without any equipment. Next, I'll show you a couple of different options that you can use to make the exercise slightly harder as you need to. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do with our single leg bridge is lay down on our backs. And a bridge starts with 3 basic steps. The first is you want to tighten your core so you flatten your back against the floor. The second is you want to squeeze your glutes. A bridge should be an exercise that uses your legs, not the back muscles. So you want to make sure you squeeze your glutes first. So again, we're going to tighten our core, squeeze our glute muscles together, and then I'm going to use one leg to push down through the floor and lift my hips up, and then come back down. You want to make sure that your pelvis stays level so that the hips stay even as you go. What you don't want is one hip to go higher than the other. This is not the ideal form for a bridge and a good way to create some muscle imbalances. So again, our correct form is going to be pushing through the foot and then lifting the hips off. To make this a little bit harder, you can simply hold it for longer, or you can change the position of where your other leg is as you do your bridge. The next level of progression that I personally find to be really helpful is to use a step or a box or a chair or the edge of your couch or something to elevate your foot that is on the ground. So today, I'm going to use my couch because that's what I have. If you don't have a couch, or if you don't want to put your foot on your couch, feel free to use a chair, a box, a stack of textbooks, whatever you want. Just make sure whatever you put your foot on isn't going to move. So my couch is pushed up against the wall, so it's not going to slide anywhere. But all I'm going to do is put my foot on my couch and then do the exact same sequence that I had been doing. So I'm just going to push up and then come back down. Up and down. So the bridge with my foot elevated on either a step or my couch is really helpful, I think, for climbing on overhanging terrains. It teaches you to toe into the wall and really use the back of your legs to throw your hips in closer so that your arms don't actually have to work as hard. For these exercises, I would do somewhere around 3 sets of 8 to 10 to 12 for each leg, depending on how you're feeling at the time. These can be rather challenging for your hamstrings, so please make sure that if you do feel a hamstring cramp coming on, that you take the time to stretch it out. After our single leg bridges, we're going to transition into a Bulgarian split squat, which is really similar to the alternating lunges that we did as warm-up. So your body's going to already be familiar with the mechanics of these exercises. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my couch again because that's what I have. But if you don't have a couch freely available for you to put your foot on, again, you can use a box, a stack of books, anything really, just to prop your foot up a little bit, as long as, again, it's not on wheels and isn't gonna slide around or away from you. So all I'm gonna do is put my one foot on the structure behind me, and then I'm gonna get my next foot, slide it just a little bit further forward so that I feel pretty comfortable and balanced. You don't wanna be off balance on these exercises. I don't want anybody to fall over. What you're gonna do from here is do that same thing that you did for your squat or your lunge, where you're imagining you're driving your hips backwards or dropping this back knee towards the ground. So you're just going to sit, and then you're gonna stand back up. As you come back up, really squeeze your glute muscle so that you can feel the back of your leg working. Okay? Try not to fall over either. But again, the same mechanics are going to apply. You want to make sure that your knee stays nice in line with the rest of your leg, that it's not shooting past your toe, and that your trunk isn't leaning forward. All of these things will help you do this exercise with good form so that you recruit the proper muscles. After you do somewhere between 8 reps, 10 reps, or maybe 12 reps, depending on how you're feeling, we're going to switch feet and just start over on the other leg, keeping those same components in mind. If you're struggling with the balance for this exercise, feel free to put a chair under your arm over here or over here so that you have something to hold on to so you don't feel like you're going to fall over. If this is still a little bit too easy for you, please feel free to add weights of any kind into your hands. You can hold them over your head, you can hold it down at your side like suitcases, or you can hold it up at your chest. If you don't have weights, specifically, get creative, try to use things from home. I don't have any weights with me today, but that's okay. I did manage to find this bottle of cleaning solution, which is a gallon, and a gallon of milk or a gallon of water or whatever this cleaning solution is. It weighs about 8 pounds, so that's an extra 8 pounds that you can use for your exercises. You could put 2 in one hand. I only have one, so I'm only going to use one. But then I'm just gonna do this with my cleaning supplies in my hands, and this way I get a little extra challenge for my muscles. So if you have weights and you're going for strength, try to keep it somewhere between 8 to 10 reps. If you don't have any weights, go till you feel a good burn, usually somewhere around 12 to 15, and do somewhere around 3 sets, or whatever time will allow. Okay? We'll use this guy a little bit later, but we're gonna go ahead and move now into my final hip strengthening exercise, which is a single leg deadlift. Or for you yogis out there, it's also, it's really similar to the Warrior 3 pose. So we're gonna use some of the same mechanics that we practiced during our warm-up, such as the hip hinge for our squats, where we're going to move through our hip to initiate the movement. So what I'm gonna have you do first is pick a leg to start on. I always use my right leg. I'm a little bit better at balancing on my right leg. But what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna unlock my knee. Not gonna bend it all the way, but just unlock it so that it's not locked straight. And I'm gonna lift my left leg off the ground, and I'm gonna hinge through my hips so that I stay nice and still. There's no movement through my back, and then I'm gonna stand back up. I'm gonna reach down towards the floor as I do this, and then slowly reverse the motion, imagining that my hamstrings on the back of my leg are pulling me back up on the way up. You can also squeeze your butt on the way up. That will help get a little bit extra muscle contraction going on. So from the side, this movement, again, is a hip hinge. So we're aiming to move through here and not through our backs. Okay? So we're going to hip hinge this way, reaching again towards the floor. If you want to, you can hang out in this position and hold it for a while, or you can just come straight back up. The slower you move, the harder this exercise will be, because you're putting your muscle under more tension by increasing the time. So again, we're hinging through the hips, we're reaching towards the floor, and then we're going to stand right back up. If you have weights, again, you can use your weights. You'll just hold them in one or both hands. I don't have weights, so remember, we're going to use this handy bottle of cleaning solution. So I'm just going to hold it. I usually like to go opposite leg to hand, but you could do same leg, same hand, or both hands with the weight. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. So again, I'm going to hold the weight, and I'm just going to come down and then slowly stand back up. And then I will do, again, somewhere between 10 to 15 of these exercises, depending on how much weight I have. The more weight I have, the fewer reps I'm going to do. With this, I'll probably stick to around 10 reps for each leg. So that is our single leg deadlift. So to review, we have done a single leg bridge with your foot either on the ground or on a box. Then we did a Romanian deadlift as well as a split squat using either your couch or a chair or a box to prop up your foot. So those are 3 strengthening exercises that you can do for your hips to keep yourself strong, and these are great because they don't require a lot of equipment. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned for our hip mobility and range of motion video that's coming out soon. And also, please feel free to follow us on our other social media pages and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks. Bye.